He told me I didn't belong there. Said it like it was a fact, like he was pointing out the weather. And the wildest part, I owned the building. Yeah, that happened. Let me tell you how a simple cup of coffee turned into a federal lawsuit, a career ending, and a conversation this city still isn't comfortable having. It was a Tuesday morning, nothing dramatic about it. Early spring and Baltimore sunlight bouncing off Harbor Point Tower, people in suits moving fast with their heads down the usual rhythm of downtown. I like getting to the cafe in the lobby before the rush hits, ordering a double espresso, sitting at the corner table where I can see the doors. That morning, I had a stack of contracts in front of me, acquisition paperwork, tenant restructuring plans. 10 days earlier, my firm had finalized the purchase of Harbor Point Tower. Biggest deal of my career. I'd walked that lobby 100 times as a lawyer. That day I walked in as the owner. I won't lie, it felt good. I'd been sitting there maybe 20 minutes when the door opened and Officer Grant Walker stepped in. Young guy, early 30s, crisp uniform, that stiff posture you see on officers who still believe they have something to prove. He paused near the entrance, scanned the room once, and his eyes locked on me. Not the couple laughing near the window, not the college kids with backpacks stretched across 2 chairs. Me, only black man in the cafe. He walked straight over, hand resting casually on his duty belt. "Sir, I need you to stand up and leave." I remember blinking at him, thinking maybe I'd misheard. "I'm sorry. We've had complaints about loitering. This space is for paying customers." I looked down at my espresso, receipt still tucked under the saucer, steam still rising. "I am a paying customer. You can't buy one coffee and sit here all day." I checked my watch, partly because I couldn't believe this was real. I've been here 22 minutes. You know that feeling when a room changes temperature, conversations softened, laptop screens lowered, people were listening without looking like they were listening. Walker stepped closer, invading that invisible bubble people pretend not to notice. "I'm giving you a lawful order. Leave." Now here's the thing. I've been a civil rights attorney for 25 years. I've represented men who were pulled out of cars for matching descriptions. I've sat across from mothers whose sons didn't come home. I know escalation when I see it. I also know pride when I see it. And Officer Walker was not about to back down. "Officer," I said calmly, "I'm not trespassing. You arguing with me, I'm clarifying." He leaned in slightly. "You don't belong here." There it was. Not loitering, not policy, belonging. "I own this building," I said. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't smile. I just said it. He actually scoffed. "Stand up." I reached toward my briefcase on the floor. "I can show you the purchase agreement." "Don't reach." His hand flew toward his holster like I'd pulled a weapon instead of paperwork. The barista gasped. Someone dropped a spoon. I slowly placed my hands flat on the table. "I am unarmed," I said clearly for everyone filming now. "I'm reaching for documentation." "Stand up, turn around." "Officer, you are making a mistake." And then he grabbed me, not gently. He yanked me up so hard the chair scraped against the marble floor like a scream. Cold metal cuffs snapped around my wrists before I could finish another sentence. They were tight, intentionally tight. "You are violating my Fourth Amendment rights," I told him, steady as I could manage. "I am the law," he shot back. "You ever hear something so arrogant it almost feels unreal?" That was it. He marched me through my own lobby. People I'd shaken hands with at closing were staring as if I'd been exposed for something shameful. Outside sunlight hit my face, and for a second I felt dizzy. Not from fear, but from the absurdity of it. A well-dressed black man in handcuffs. White officer gripping his arm. It's a picture this country recognizes too quickly. He pushed me against the squad car, patted me down, pulled my wallet out, barely glanced at my ID before tossing it on the dashboard. "Watch your head," he muttered as I maneuvered into the back seat alone. No assistance, no apology. The ride to the precinct was quiet. He hummed along to the radio like he'd just wrapped up a routine stop. I sat back there smelling disinfectant and old vinyl, staring at the city I'd spent my life defending in court. I wasn't scared. I was thinking, drafting the opening lines of a complaint in my head. Because here's the twist. The man he arrested for trespassing was the man who'd written half the case law on police misconduct in this state. At booking, Sergeant Ellis Monroe looked up and froze. "Walker," he said slowly. "What did you just do?" "Booking him. Trespassing." Monroe came around the desk himself. "Do you know who this is?" Walker shrugged. Wouldn't cooperate. Monroe looked at me, then back at him. "Take the cuffs off. Now." Walker hesitated. "Sarge, he was—" "Now." The cuffs came off. My wrists were red, swelling already. Monroe's voice dropped low enough that only we could hear. "You arrested Daniel Reed for trespassing in Harbor Point Tower." "Yes, sir." "Daniel Reed owns Harbor Point Tower." You could hear Walker's confidence collapse. He closed last week. It was on the news." I rubbed my wrists and looked at Walker, not angry, not loud, just tired. I tried to tell you. Captain Laura Kim stepped out of her office, took one look at the scene and said, "Mr. Reed, let's resolve this privately." "No," I said, "we won't. You're free to go." "I know." I picked up my wallet, my watch, my pen, checked the nib, slid it into my pocket. Then I looked at Walker one last time. "This wasn't confusion," I said quietly. "It was a choice." And I walked out. I didn't go home. I didn't cool off. I went straight to my firm, called in my senior associates, and said, "Drop everything. We file today." By 5 p.m., Reed versus Walker and the city of Baltimore was in federal court. 42 pages detailing unlawful detention, false arrest, excessive force failure to train pattern of profiling. Damages requested $3.8 million. But paperwork is quiet. Video is loud. At 6:12 that evening, a woman from the cafe uploaded her footage with the caption, "Cop arrests building owner for drinking coffee while black." 8 million views by sunrise. News trucks parked outside the tower. Reporters outside the precinct. Talk radio exploded. And then something worse surfaced. 5 prior complaints against Officer Walker. Everyone involving black men over 40. All labeled unfounded. No discipline. No retraining. Just paperwork buried in a drawer. This time there was video. Clear, undeniable video. Internal affairs moved quickly. The union couldn't shield him. The city's attorneys did the math. If this goes to trial with me representing myself, the number won't stop at 3.8. Juries don't like arrogance. 3 months later, the city settled. $3.8 million. Formal admission of wrongdoing. Mandatory de-escalation training across the department. Officer Grant Walker was terminated for gross misconduct and racial profiling. Certification revoked. Career over. People asked me how it felt, victorious maybe for a second. But mostly I felt heavy, because owning the building didn't protect me. Wearing a suit didn't protect me. Being respected didn't protect me. Only my knowledge of the law and the resources to fight back did. And not everybody has that, you know what I mean? So I used the settlement to create the Reed Justice Project, a nonprofit legal defense fund for people who don't have partners and associates on speed dial. Seeded it with the city's own check. If the system was going to make a mistake that expensive, it was going to fund the correction too. A year later, I sat in that same cafe, same table, same espresso. There's a new security protocol now, one I designed. Emphasis on verification, de-escalation, respect. Officers drive by occasionally. I watch them through the glass and I wonder how many still believe they can decide who belongs. Here's the part that still bothers some people. They say I ruined a young officer's life over a misunderstanding. That maybe he was just doing his job. Maybe I should have let it go once I was released. Maybe 3.8 million was excessive. So let me ask you this. If I hadn't owned the building, if there hadn't been video, if I didn't know how to file a federal complaint before dinner, what would have happened? Would it still be called a misunderstanding? Or would it have been just another story no one hears? That's the tension that doesn't go away. Justice for one man doesn't automatically fix a system. It just exposes it. So I'm curious, was the settlement enough? Did the officer deserve to lose his career? Have you ever been told you didn't belong somewhere you had every right to be? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Push back if you disagree. Share your story if you've lived something similar. Because these conversations don't end when the check clears. They start when we're honest about what happened. And if you believe stories like this matter, subscribe and stick around. We're not done talking about it.